Good morning, everyone. It's once again the Monday over here in the Netherlands, so you know what that means. It's time to start the week off right with some good old StarCraft 2, because for me personally, it's been like 2 days since I last casted a series. I know, 2 entire days. So spawning here in today's best of 3 series in the top right-hand corner of 2000 Atmos. Playing with the red Terran SCVs, we have none other than Maru. Now Maru, of course, widely considered to be, not even widely considered to be, the strongest Terran player from South Korea, if not like the strongest StarCraft 2 player from South Korea. Although there are definitely another couple of players in the running for that title. There's no denying that Maru is currently the best Terran player from South Korea. Because, I mean, guys like TY and guys like Innovation and a bunch of those other players, they're currently in the military. So, I mean, there's Björn, there's Gumi, there's Bunny. Bunny has been looking really good as well, but there's no denying that Maru is the best. Anyways, his opponent in the opposite corner, widely considered to be the Terran player from outside of South Korea. Playing here with the blue SCVs, we have none other than Clem. And Clem, of course, is from France. So, I think it's time for us to determine who the best Terran player is in the world right now. I mean, a best of 3 series might not necessarily be the best way of doing so, but at the very least, it's a start. So Clem versus Maru. Should be an interesting one. Both players going for quick double refineries here, which usually means we're gonna have a relatively passive start to the game. I mean, they can obviously get rather aggressive as well early on, but for the earlier stages of this game, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we're just going to see both players saving up a couple of those Reapers and then probably a couple of those Hellions as well. This is usually what you do. Clem is going to scout around at least a little bit. So Maru does have the image of someone who likes to, proxy barracks on the other side of the map, and it's important to figure out that that is happening to you if you want to, not lose to it. Generally speaking, though, really over the last couple of months, and maybe this is different for Clem, but I really haven't seen Maru go for that strategy all too often. He used to do it all the time. Like, I remember watching this series, I think it was Innovation versus Maru, where they basically just ended up proxying each other all of the time. The meta has changed a little bit to that, like, what I was trying to say, that Reaper Hellion hit squad that we see so often these days. Maru is going to go for a quick command center on the low ground as a follow-up, and the same can be said here for Clem. Small differences. It looks to me like Clem has got a little bit more gas. He decided to pull 2 SCVs out of the gas as well just now. So small differences here and there. 1 SCV was pulled out right here for Maru. But all things considered, I don't think it should really make that much of a change. Okay, so there is going to be double Reaper production right here for Maru, which I guess allows him to get a pretty strong hit squad out. The thing is, you usually make a bunch of Reapers and then a bunch of Hellions just to, like, build your way into, for example, a Cyclone or, for example, a Siege Tank, right? And once those units are out, the age of the Reaper Hellion squad is usually over. But if you transition to it too quickly, then obviously you end up, dying just to a couple of Reapers early on, together with those Hellions. So it's a very finicky early game, but generally speaking, it's been well figured out, and wouldn't be surprised at all if these players know exactly what they're doing right here in the earlier stages of the game. So look as well at, look as well, there you go, at what Maru is doing right here, controlling the high ground. So this is the most likely location that Clem is gonna arrive if he decides to go across the map. So, that way, obviously, he gets the first hit in, and with these kind of battles, that's absolutely huge. He's also spreading the units around a lot, just to make sure that the Hellions from the opponent that he's expecting are not gonna be able to deal, like, splash damage in that line of fire. So there's small little things you can do to not die in the earlier stage of TVT. For a lot of ladder heroes out there, you know the pains of Terran versus Terran, where you accidentally lose at, like, the 3-minute mark, just because you mispossessioned your own Hellions or, your own Reaper. Anyways, at the very least, okay, this is going to allow a good line of fire right there for Clem, but at this point, there are just more units available for Maru. That being said, there is a Cyclone just about to finish up. He's going to try and at the very least kill a couple of those workers. So 2 SCVs, 3 SCVs, maybe 4 will end up going down here. Cyclone at this point is out, though. And you can kind of see the Cyclone here is just bossing everything around. Those Marines also not messing around, so 4 worker kills right there in total for Maru, though. That is not to be forgotten about. Hellions and Reapers obviously do fall off as the game progresses. But that was a decent start right there for Clem, for sure. Although, he is going to follow up with some desperate SCV production. That's for certain. 4 gases here already as well for Clem, so I guess he's gonna power out those Ravens early on. Now, real quick, I know I do this with every single Terran versus Terran, but the Ravens, they have 3 abilities that are useful in Terran versus Terran. First off, a little auto turret. Secondly, the interference matrix, which allows them to temporarily shut down opposing units, most often used on siege tanks in this matchup, so you can make it so your opponent's siege tank is on fire. And lastly, the anti-armor missile as well, which allows you to cover your opponent's units and also actually your own units in orange paint, which forces them to take additional damage temporarily. Anyways, I like repeating that because honestly the Ravens are so critical in Terran vs. Terran, and I've seen a lot of comments in the comment section over the years with people asking, Lowko, where's that even coming from? Why is everything orange all of a sudden? What just happened? Anyways, so double Raven production right here for Clem. So Clem is really gonna power out those Ravens. It's a little bit awkward though, right? So it's an energy-based unit. So you can see currently this Raven, for example, if you look at the bottom right, it's only got enough energy right there to drop the auto turret. And obviously auto turrets are extremely powerful, but say for example, right, your opponent is over here with a couple of siege tanks. If you drop all of your auto turrets down, right, and your opponent unsieges and comes back like half a minute later, you're gonna sit there with a bunch of Ravens that can't do anything, right? So it's it's a bit of an awkward early game unit. It's very nice to have, but yeah, you definitely don't want to rely on it exclusively. Anyhow, 3rd CC starts up at the 3rd CC location. Maru, of course, extremely good when it comes to defensive play. Like, Maru really is the best. I mean, I don't want to, like, fanboy too hard, but Maru is extremely scary when it comes to his defensive play. I've casted a lot of games where Maru is behind, and then 10 minutes later, yeah, he still seems to be in control. Especially in Terran vs. Terran, by the way. Like, Maru, he doesn't really lose TVT recently. I'm trying to think if there's, like, a lot of games recently where I've seen him lose in Terran vs. Terran, but can't really come up with any. Clem is obviously insane in Terran vs. Zerg. It's not like his Terran vs. Terran and Terran vs. Protoss are bad, by the way. They're still phenomenal. Ooh, careful. But I would say Maru probably... I don't know the stats, but I'm pretty sure Maru's best matchup is Terran vs. Terran, whereas for Clem, his best matchup is Terran vs. Zerg. So in this, in this instance, that's definitely going to help out Maru a little bit. Either way, Maru is going to check right now. Okay, he's going to lock onto at least whatever he can. Siege tanks, obviously. Ooh, he decides to unsiege the ones in the back right there. Okay, so this does allow these auto turrets to move forward. Auto turrets also being used defensively. One of the interference matrices lands right there on top of the Raven. Clem takes a pretty good fight over here as he actually kills 14 SCVs. I was going to say, there's still a lot of units available there for Maru, but the mineral line is essentially gone. Okay, a couple of siege tanks right now disabled as well on the side of Clem, so I think... Well, now with the Vikings landing, all of this will be cleaned up. Yeah, Ravens right now, mostly out of energy. Was that worth it? If you look right there at the units lost, I mean, still a very nice situation here for Clem, for sure. 15 workers here. I think that's the big one, right? So in Terran vs. Terran, it's really difficult to close out the game. Main reason for that is obviously the siege tanks. Because, like, say, for example, you're Maru right now. You're like, okay, I've got more army than my opponent. I just lost SCVs. Let's try and go kill him. You're going to have to fight into your opponent with a bunch of sieged-up tanks, right? And it's it's kind of difficult to break those scenarios. You can also see Clem right now, apparently satisfied with the amount of Ravens he's got for now. Although, I don't think a Terran player is ever satisfied with the amount of Ravens they have. They always want to have more. More seems to be better. Either way, he's adding on a couple of Vikings here into the mix as well. Okay. Terran vs. Terran, man. I love this matchup. I know there's a lot of people that don't really like watching Terran vs. Terran for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, it's... Okay, I do know why, actually. So, the thing is... this is not enough right here, Clem. I guess you have a lot of Ravens over there. Okay, let's discuss that in a second after this, this battle goes down. Okay, Clem decides to actually try to meet his opponent head on. Okay, a couple of auto turrets right here. This is more like a dog, like barking really loudly here. Well, you know what? I say that. Clem is apparently now going to be able to pick up at least a couple of the siege tanks. Maru, though, rolls the weakened siege tanks back. Who's faster on the siege up? Looks like, well, Clem at the very least is going to demolish those red HP siege tanks in the back. Or in the front, rather, for Maru. In the back for Clem. Alright. Yeah, so when it comes to Terran vs. Terran, right? I have the luxury of casting games. And pick and choose what I want to cast. Whereas for a lot of the Terran versus Terrans that are being played, they just end at the 3-minute mark just because, you know, even at the pro level, just because someone miscontrolled. And I get to, like, you know, choose what games I actually want to be casting. I mean, Maru versus Clem. I don't think there's any caster that will dislike covering Maru versus Clem, because it doesn't really get much better than these two when it comes to playing with Terran. But, yeah, if you're gonna have to fight, you know, if you're gonna have to watch, like, two other quote-unquote weaker Terran players, you know, fight off against each other, it's sometimes a little bit less exciting. Where it's just, like, both players sitting on one base, they're going double gas, they're going 1-1-1. It's a little bit of Reaper harassment. One player makes a mistake. Ah, GG, right? Like, the matchup can definitely be a little bit boring. It's just like Zerg versus Zerg. Like, recently I casted Dark versus Rogue. I don't think anyone, you know, or Serral versus Raider, like, those games are absolute bangers. Anyways, I get to pick and choose, man. It's the YouTube luxury. Yeah, so notice how both of these guys are as well microing multiple battles at once. Interestingly enough, these are very similar unit compositions fighting against each other. A random group of Marines going up against a random group of Marines, but right now, you know, this random group of Marines is bigger than the blue group of Marines, so I guess this is the one that wins. There goes Jimmy, by the way. Tasked with protecting the 4th base of his opponent. Turns out the 4th base is on the right. Clem already finishing up the planetary fortress over there. Definitely a nice advantage right now, though, for the Frenchmen. If we look at the upgrades here, I mean, I say advantage here for the Frenchmen. Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a way of coming back into it here if you're Maru. Like, supply-wise, Clem was at a small lead there. Obviously, he's got himself that 4th command center a little bit quicker. It's already done, right? The planetary there being done is massive. And he's also got that nice little upgrade lead. A couple of SCVs here are going to sacrifice themselves. I think it's because both players here are also, yeah, busy microing up north. With the amount of orbital commands, though, that you build up throughout this matchup... Actually, did he just kill both medevacts? I think he did. Yeah, Maru actually keeping, or losing track of those, not keeping his Marines under control. Loses 2 medevacts worth of stuff. 8 SCVs end up going down as well, so maybe it was a decent enough trade, but... Anyways, yeah, those upgrades finishing up a little bit quicker there for Maru, assuming he starts up 3-3 as well, is real nice. Terran versus Terran, with the Terran music in the background. Doesn't get much better than that, huh? Okay, you know what? It can get better. I want to hear Terran music from Brood War. That would make it better. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I love the StarCraft 2 Terran music, but... Anyways, while that little hit squad is on the other side of the map right now for Maru, there is a huge army here for Clem. This is an awkward spot to be in, though. Most of the siege tanks seem to be on the high ground here, right here towards the right, but... Maru, for now, is going to be forced to defend against Marines that are just simply at his 3rd base. Couple of siege tanks right now on the high ground, too. Okay, these SCVs over here are in a very dangerous spot. Oh, my God. How did they just... Okay, I was going to say, how did they just make it out of there? They didn't. At the same time, on the other side of the map, Maru did load a couple of those Marines inside of the Medivacs. And he's going to try and see if he can get some damage done over here. But it seems to me that Maru has been cut off from his 4th and 5th command center. The 3rd base is gone. Looks like the command center itself may have very well gotten killed. And this is a very awkward position to be in. Like, there's a large group of units over here, 4 siege tanks and a bunch of Marines. And all of the other units here for Maru, they, you know, come rolling down the natural from the main base. So, you don't want to overextend, Clem. You gotta be so careful. Well, you know what? I think this is an awkward position for Maru, but it's also an awkward position for Clem, because he can't really get out of here very easily. I think you gotta just unsiege and roll back, my man. Ah, you know what? Giving up this position also sucks, right? Because then the orbital command is just gonna get back in that... Okay, yeah, he's just sending all of his reinforcements over here instead. I guess it's fine. We're at 116 supply in the army units for Clem versus 111 for Maru. Okay, he wants to continue fighting right here on the right, and this is huge, though. More siege tanks over in this direction. A couple of Marines coming in over here as well. Auto turret goes down. A couple of these Vikings are trying to target fire down these Ravens. Not a lot of Marines and anti-air in general right here remaining for Clem. Okay, I like this. Yep. Marines drop right there on top of the siege tanks, forcing the siege tanks here for Clem to deal friendly fire. Here comes the rest of the Marine squad as well for Maru. Maru does sieges down the ramp, apparently. He just... I would not want to be a Marine in this army for Maru, but that was brilliant. So, obviously, siege tanks deal friendly fire. If you have a medivac full of units and you drop them on your opponent's, you know, stack of siege tanks, they'll kill some of their buddies. Sadly for them, anyway. Nice move there for Maru. Does break out of his natural expo eventually. Resecuring the base again as well, by the way, with an orbital command. Alright. Clem has not started up +3 yet. Probably because he doesn't feel like he's got the money for it. Maru only started up +3 here for the infantry weapons, which is by far the most important upgrade. The armor is not nearly as effective, so can't blame him for that. Planetary over here taking a lot of damage. Now all of a sudden it seems to me that it is Clem who's cut off from one of his expansions. Like, there's no way that that base is gonna live. He is already re-expanding though towards the left side of the map. Still at 80 workers, by the way, so... yeah, definitely a little bit more income there. Assuming those workers are actually gonna mine. Oh, this one's left alive just to tell the tale to the others. You tell the story, son. Tell them where we came from. We're from the other side of the map and we need you to leave. Maru, dude. What a legend. Does he not know that there's a, you know, a player behind the screen who could see everything? At the very least, everything within the fog of war. So there's this weird moment, right, in late game Terran versus Terran, where both players have like 10 gases mining each, maybe even 12, where they just go to like full Raven production. I've seen that happen so many times, where they just, you know, start pumping out like 7 Ravens at once. Well, I mean, not so many times. I've seen it happen a bunch of times where it's kind of funny. Where, like, you know, the theory, I guess, is if you can disable literally everything of your opponent, what are they gonna do? 13 versus 10 siege tanks over here. Yeah. Nice work once again, though, from Maru, right? Like, Maru was definitely a little behind right there in the supply count. I don't want to oversell the advantage that Clem was at either, but... Maru is very scary defensively. Like, he kept his cool over there, right? Like, when he had siege tanks over here, an army in this spot as well as in this spot, like, opposing siege tanks over here, that is, he just kept his cool and seemed to be still in control of that battle. Like, that is one of the key characteristics of Maru, it seems. He always is in control. Even in these very dicey scenarios, he's like, nope, I know what to do. Let me just load up a medevac full of units, do it at the right moment, at the right time, build up enough reinforcements, right patience. Yeah, don't make any mistakes. Ooh, did he get a Raven right there? I guess he did. Okay, once again, dangerous spot right here for Clem to be in. All of his siege tanks right now are disabled. A couple of auto turrets are dropped, I suppose, but is that going to be enough right here? Interference matrix will run out here over the course of the next couple of seconds, but most of that Terran army in blue is already gone. At the same time, on the right side of the map, there's a planetary fortress here, of course, for Maru. These siege tanks are... yeah, I think you just siege them up over here, right? No? Is he going to look for more? Okay, nah. Well, they're going to be able to gun down this planetary very, very quickly, so that expansion will not live for much longer. A lot of SCVs right now also going down. Yeah, that's a little bit excessive. In the meantime, on the left side of the map, deja vu from literally 5 seconds ago. We see the same thing happening right here for Maru as he takes care of one of the planetaries here of Clem. All right, both players have been reduced a base. That being said, Clem does have an orbital over here. He is getting more income right now, an entire extra base. These low ground expos will start running out very quickly as well, though, because, you know, they've been mining from those for a while. Main base already empty on both sides. Natural expo also has run out. So this is starting to be a little bit desperate. This is not, you know, that mass Raven production that we see sometimes in the late game of Terran vs. Terran. This is very much so both players being broke, despite having like 5 bases. Army-wise, though, Yeah, Clem, you really need to get more stuff over here. Okay, yeah, army-wise here for Maru, this is looking far more dangerous. And Clem apparently a little bit in a weird spot. Those siege tanks actually also blocking his own marines from passing through. Luckily, this time around here for Clem, it is an orbital command, which means it can fly. Planetaries cannot. At the same time, up north, couple of medevacs full of marines have unloaded, and they're going to go after a newly acquired command center. Maru did not have a chance to morph that into a planetary fortress yet. Bottom right-hand corner acquired as well by Clem. This is something Maru has not seen yet. Although he's got this new base, well, I guess with an old natural. He's got this new set of minerals once again at his disposal. Dicey, dicey game! We're 20 minutes into it, and it's still, yeah, pretty much even, right? Army lead right here, I guess, for Maru. As far as, like, comp goes, I guess. Economy lead here for Clem. But both players, obviously, at this point have plenty of orbitals as well to add in some mules. I mean, scans are very important in this matchup. Okay. Does decide to disable a couple of the tanks there for a little... Oh my god, all of the tanks there for a little bit. Auto turrets are dropped as well by Clem. A couple of siege tanks over there are trying their very best to get something done. That being said, you have to go through this choke point, right? If you want to here, if you want to continue fighting, if you're Maru. I mean, I say that, but apparently the siege tanks are just simply getting rid of pretty much everything. There's not really a whole lot of marines available anyway here for Maru. Clem, though, does still have a large army here. 41 marines in total. How do you fight through this, though? Okay, he wants to, I guess, disable a couple of the tanks or drop auto turrets behind it. Marines right now stimming forward, trying to optimize the damage. A couple of them here coming from the flank as well. SCVs also used to soak some of that damage, but look at the siege tank spread. There's just more and more Maru there, and eventually, his army is just a little bit too big. Alrighty, game number 2, we are on Lightshade. I love how Terran vs. Terran usually starts off with, like, Marine Siege Tank, and then, you know, Ravens and Vikings and all that. But eventually it comes down to, like, Liberator Siege Tank and Raven, right? Like, it kinda... And Vikings, obviously. It kinda goes from, like, a Marine-based, a biological, an infantry-based army into, like, a mechanical-based army, right? So you go from bio into mech, which is really cool. I've always been a fan of that. That transition is very tricky. It's very difficult to pull off, but... The reason, obviously, why usually mech is not played earlier on is because you don't have enough gas, right? You're very limited by the amount of gas income. So if you're trying to make it off of 2 bases, for example, you can just, like, not make enough, right? And obviously, it's also very slow. So if you don't already have, like, a base set of units, just starting off with mech. I mean, say, for example, you start off with mech. I mean, maybe... Okay, well, Clem apparently feeling a little bit adventurous in this game. Is he gonna go for a second barracks? I think so. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at is if you transition towards mech right from the get-go, your opponent has basically full map control, right? Because you can't really move out until you have at least a decent army. I mean, you can obviously roam the map with a couple of Hellions and Cyclones and stuff, but yeah. I don't think we're going to be transitioning from that bio-based early game anytime soon. All right, so Maru is SCV scouting this time around. That is very nice. What's he going to find? He's going to find a single gas, I suppose. Oh, nope, he's not going to find anything. Never mind. He's going to find a very quick wall off. This is a little bit of a spawn advantage. So Maru right here, if he wants to add on a, attachment right here to this barracks, since they always spawn on the right side of the structure, he has to keep a hole right here in his wall off. Whereas on the other side of the map, obviously for Clem, it's going to spawn over here. This is one of the small imbalances in StarCraft 2 that we don't really talk about, which I still think is dumb. I wish you could just, put those add-ons wherever you want. I don't know why you can't, but anyways. Usually spawning right here is a little bit of an advantage. Although that being said, I mean, say there's like a siege tank line over here and they're gunning into the main base, then obviously you're going to be a little bit more exposed. Whereas for Maru, they are facing away from any siege tank harass on the low ground. So, potato, potato, I guess. Okay, so he's now aware of what happened here. One SCV pulled with the pack as well. This SCV is just here to soak some damage and deal some damage if the red player allows it. 2 Reapers pumped out at once here, whereas Maru currently is going for a Hellion. He really wants to get that Reaper. Okay, SCV's pulled away from the mineral line. Not gonna happen. Oh, even gets one of them. Command Center in a little bit of trouble here, though, for Maru. Hellion is out. Reaper number 3 and 4 are gonna spawn soon. I think he can go down. Nah, okay, he just doesn't want to. Nah, okay. He cancels and starts reproducing one in the main base instead. Which I guess is a nice little advantage right here, right from the get-go for Clem. Look at this command center. Obviously, that second barracks will come in handy anyway. Let's compare the starport timings, I suppose, because obviously his factory is going to be a little bit later, yeah. So, the advantage here for Clem is a faster command center, but he's also going to have a slower starport, whereas for Maru, he's going to be able to, yeah, get that starport out pretty quickly. Maru obviously doesn't know if there's continued Reaper, like, production at this point, so he doesn't want to get too adventurous either with those couple of units that he's got for now. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of aggression though once I guess he decides to go for a medevac. I mean, medevacs obviously are still very helpful if you want to get aggressive early on, but alright. Cyclone coming up. Starport also finally building here for Clem. He's already mining gas out of the 3rd refinery. Ravens are 200 gas each, so you do need quite a few of them. Okay, yeah. So he is going to load everything into the plane, except for these units, because they don't fit, but they're fast enough on the ground anyway. He's going to load as many units as he can and send them towards the other side of the map. Are we going to see the switcheroo? No, we're not going to see the switcheroo. We're just going to see a new tech lab instead. To go, I guess, for the Ravens, huh? So Clem starts up his first Raven right now. Maru starts up his own. Hey, you know what? Now I sound really smart, right? Pointing out the the add-on situation.
Command center upgrade.
Thank you very much, Maru. I appreciate you, dude. Is there enough right now for Clem to push this back? I mean, at least kill the reactor. Oh my god, the reactor lives. Guess it's gonna burn down. Okay, yeah, it's burnt down. Nice spread right there on the high ground though by Clem, trying to mitigate as much of that splash damage as possible. Good defense right there actually by Clem, and it's so easy to accidentally lose everything. Cyclone has rolled on over towards the front as well. Clem obviously with an empty bunker over here because he needed all of those units inside of the main base. Oh, he's gonna try and go into the main once again. Probably hunting for the siege tank if he can, but Clem already parked on top of it. Okay. Jimmy, no! Dude, what was that, man? Poor Jimmy. That man had a family. It was just dropped off in the main base together with a hell buggy, and that's it. Alright. 3rd CC coming up on the other side of the map for Maru. 3rd CC coming up on the other side of the map for Clem. Yeah, both of these guys very in sync. I mean, right now you can see the additional barracks coming up. Whereas obviously for Clem, he's already had the second one for a little bit. Okay. Matter of fact, drop gonna come in for more, but I don't know. 5 SCVs here. I mean, Clem already had that faster command center, right? It's once more, yeah. A nice little lead right here for Clem. About 10 supply or so. Not to be overestimated, but definitely not bad either, especially since his second command center was done quicker than his opponent. It's not like those, you know, workers that were just killed really put him behind in any way. 1-1 comes up. Here's the NG base as well in the back of the natural for Clem. Once again, he's going to be a little bit later on those, but that's just because of the way the build works out. Marines and SCVs send out all over the map, used as spotter units. This early on into the game, obviously, you don't really have a whole lot of scans available yet, so Maru just scanned this nice little triangular position to scout pretty much everything, to see the timing right there of his opponent's 3rd CC. Anyways, he knows what's going on right now. But yeah, these spotter units very helpful. Supply depot even here, right here on the right side of the map as well. This will allow him to, yeah, see incoming medivacs, for example, which helps a lot. These Marines are a little bit more adventurous than I expected them to be. They laugh in the face of danger. I don't know if they're aware of the fact that they're just outside of the range of a sieged-up tanks. Or a sieged-up tank. Okay, well, that wasn't even out of range. Never mind. Well, they laughed in the face of danger, maybe, but they're dead. It's all the same, pretty much. 1-1 finishing up. Armory is, of course, in time. I say that. Ever so slightly out of sync. It's the worst feeling when you play Terran, man. You want to try and start up 2-2 and you realize, oh man, I need an armory. I'm late on the armory again, right? So you can see even Maru right here is like 10-15 seconds late. There you go. You can feel better now, okay? I mean, it's not really something he can afford, honestly. Still 10 supply behind. Clem obviously slowly building on this. He's got some of his own spotter depots as well. Wouldn't mind seeing another one right here on the left side. Both players, though, just building up an army. Yeah, what's better than 1 spotter unit? 2 spotter units. What's better than 2 spotter units? 3. Which is why we see these little clumps of units right now. Just to try and destroy the opponent's spotter units. It's kind of a funky matchup. It's a weird gentleman's agreement over here going on. Obviously, if you commit too much, though, like at some point it becomes an army, right? If you commit too many units, yeah, it's not great either. Okay, scan right there from Maru reveals that Clem is on the move. Clem, ready to secure the 4th base. 4th command center also done here for Maru. It's funny how they took entirely different build orders, right? And they're still completely in sync. Okay, so this is where we pick up the pace a little bit. Couple Marines over here. Huge clump of Marines inside of the main base. Picking off just the add-ons, which is huge, actually. Takes a while to rebuild those, right? That's gonna, yeah, just soak up that production time. It's gonna make Clem flood some minerals here for at least a little bit. Gets one out of there once again. Doesn't know exactly how many Vikings the opponent has available at this point. Okay, 2 Marines apparently. Dropped behind to try and kill the supply depot. The lucky few. Or unlucky few, I don't know. Yeah, so Clem basically maxed out right now, right? Look at that. He's like a 40 supply lead right now over Maru. Which is, yeah, a really good situation for him to be in. Then again, though, those siege tanks, they don't mess around. I'm just gonna keep saying the same things. There's only 8 of them right here for Maru, 12 for Clem. I think just a full frontal push might be a decent idea. Maybe with some medevac harassment or something along those lines. Either way, the 4th CC right now is being acquired. Maru, obviously, during this time, rebuilding an army too. Well, I guess rebuilding. He's never really maxed out before, but he's been building up the army. +2/+2 done. Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, how do you fight this? How do you get a valuable trade right now if you're Clem? You can't really get up to the high ground unless you have a lot of ravens out. Only 3 available right now for Maru, 1 for Clem, so not really much of an option. Clem decides to load a lot of units into Medi. Oh, is that this game? Guys, I saw a Reddit clip about a week ago. It's this game. Oh my god. Maru right there sees medevacs. He's already got a ring of missile turrets coming up. He's got Vikings over here as well. The medevacs are completely above the dead ground. All of the medevacs right now disabled as well with that. Oh my god. I didn't realize it was this game. Yeah, Clem was just about to lose everything. Can we actually go back? Can we actually go back just a little bit? Because that was some absolutely gorgeous play right there from Maru. So I want to emphasize something. Clem just tried to go for a doom drop inside of his opponent's main base. So what's beautiful here is that Maru gets a glimpse of it, right? Clem sees as well that Maru has, you know, spotted him. So this is the first misplay right here from Clem. I mean, I'm sure there may have been other misplays, but he should know that at this point he's been spotted. That being said, he knows these units are at the bottom of the ramp. So obviously, units that are at the bottom of the ramp, they have less ranged as far as their vision goes. So they don't see nearly as much. So maybe Clem right here is making the assumption that his opponent hasn't seen him, right? Which is fair enough. Anyways. That is a bit of a misplay. I think it's safe to assume right now that your opponent has seen you. Either way, this is also what I really want to like... I already brought up that patience earlier, right? From Maru. This is something I also really want to reiterate. I think many of us would try to just fly over in that direction with the group of Vikings over here and the group of Ravens to try and, like, kill this, right? Before it, like, turns back around. Instead, Maru decides to, you know, have the cake and then eat it too, right? He decides to go for a bit of a risky move because, you know, his opponent might just turn back around and he would get absolutely no value out of this. But he decides to fight this above this section of the map. Rather than sending his Vikings over in that direction, he spends enough time right here, yeah, to make sure that these units have absolutely zero way of escaping. This is just the perfect engagement right there for Maru. Clem was down like 70 supply there in a heartbeat. And at that point, I mean, even with the siege tank count, right, there's not enough stuff. So there you have it. Maru ends up winning 2-0 over Clem. I hope you enjoyed watching this series. If you liked this video, please hit that like button down below. If you didn't like it, feel free to hit the dislike button. If you really enjoyed it though, hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell icon so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. I post pretty much every single day to this YouTube channel, and I post daily as well to my second YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/morelowko, which is where I post completed games that I have streamed on Twitch. There's a link down below in the description of this video, or you can just click on my face on the screen. Anyways, for now, take care, stay awesome, don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.